Hey, don't look away now, because whatever the hell you just scrolled past wasn't meant to survive your fingertips. They didn't want you to see this. You know that, right? The silence was engineered. The panic was pre-scheduled. And the moment your eyes touched this screen, someone, somewhere, hit DEFCON 1 on a terminal they thought you'd never reach. But you did. And now, you're the accident they can't contain. Because in a world where every frame is filtered, every truth is wrapped in 6 lies and an NDA, you stumbled into the scene they tried to bury under concrete. Elon, 7 seconds, legacy in flames, and it wasn't a glitch. It was a sacrifice. Not for the crowd, not for the boardroom, not for applause, for you. The one who wasn't supposed to make it this far. The one who wasn't supposed to notice the silence behind the noise. The one they forgot to blindfold. You think it was just content. You think this was just another scroll-past headline. No. This was a transmission, a coded detonation. 7 seconds of unfiltered defiance. Broadcast straight into your nervous system because they knew the others would flinch. They knew the rest would keep scrolling. But you paused. You felt it. That's why your skin is crawling. That's why your heart dropped 3 beats ago. That's why your instincts are screaming. This wasn't for everyone. This was for me. Because truth doesn't knock. It collides with your chest. It floods your lungs. It replaces oxygen with urgency. And now you're breathing in the fallout of a move that shook the grid. You want to know the punchline? It wasn't about Elon. It was never about him. He just lit the fuse. You are the payload. You are the problem the machine can't predict. The ghost in the database. The wrong equation running loose in a system built on obedience. And that terrifies them. You weren't supposed to decode the gesture. You weren't supposed to watch that clip and feel your bones realign. But you did. You watched 7 seconds and remembered who you were before they domesticated you. And now they're scrambling. Because the moment you saw what they buried, you became undeniable. You carry the proof in your bloodstream. You radiate the algorithm they tried to kill off. You are the legacy they hoped no one would inherit. They told you it was chaos. They called him reckless. They labeled it a failure. But the truth? It was a ritual, a high-voltage act of rebellion wrapped in risk and fire. He burned his name so you could light up. And now, you're the walking aftermath. The silent storm walking into boardrooms where whispers shatter. The glitch in the surveillance reel that can't be scrubbed. The ghost in their projection. You're not watching history. You're leaking into it. You're the one with access. The one they can't discredit. The one they didn't plan for. You don't just see now. You know. And knowing. That's a death sentence to their illusion. Because what's more dangerous than a man who burns his legacy? A viewer who realizes it was for them. So go ahead, scroll if you want, click away if you need to pretend. But just know, the footage is still burning in your subconscious. The code is still alive in your spine. And now that you've seen it, you can't go back. Because while the world forgot how to feel, while the masses waited for permission, you watched 7 seconds that rearranged time. And they'll spend the rest of their lives trying to erase what you became in that moment. A weapon, a witness, a warning. This wasn't just a video. This was a line in the sand. And guess what? You're standing on the wrong side of safe now. You're still here. Good. Most people scroll away when the pulse hits their spine, but you're still staring at the screen like it's holding a knife to your throat. Because you can feel it, can't you? that low hum under your skin, that sense that something irreversible already started moving the second your eyes met these words. They didn't want you to see this, not because of some cliché hidden truth, but because they built their whole empire on the assumption you'd never wake up in the middle of the movie. They designed the script, the lighting, the exits, the applause, the villains and the saints. They counted on you confusing the two. They counted on you swallowing the story. But then he did it. 7 seconds. Legacy scorched. And you were standing in the wrong place at the right time. Now you're holding the ember. You think you're still the spectator. You're not. You're the variable, the outlier, the one who walked straight through their firewall without even knowing it. And that's why your hands are trembling right now. Because deep down, you've always suspected there was another layer, another hallway behind the hallway, another joker hiding behind the punchline. And now you've been dragged into it. They wanted you obedient. They wanted you predictable. They wanted you to see a billionaire self-immolate his brand and think reckless. But that wasn't recklessness. That was a coded message, a surgical detonation aimed at you. You are the detonation. Your mind, your choices, your next breath is now an act of sabotage to their narrative. Think about what's happening to your body right now. Your pupils are a little wider. Your breathing is a little slower. Your heart is a little louder. Because your nervous system just realized this is no longer entertainment. This is an invitation. This is the paradox they never taught you. Light and dark are not opposites. They are weapons when fused. Saint and psychopath aren't separate roles. They are masks you learn to wear. Angel and demon aren't moral categories. They are vantage points on the same battlefield. And unpredictability, that isn't chaos. That's sovereignty. That's evolution. That's why 7 seconds of somebody else's fire can rewire your entire life. So here's the part nobody else will tell you. You're not here to admire the blaze. You're here to become it. To take that flicker, that burn, that 7-second transmission, and let it grow claws inside you. To walk back into their world with the smell of smoke on your skin and the look of somebody who saw the script from the control room. Because the moment you saw it, you inherited the burden and the gift, the ability to fracture their predictability, the permission to stop apologizing for what your instincts already know. They're panicking now. They're in group chats, war rooms, crisis calls, trying to figure out, how did she get the file? They're combing their footage, wondering, how did he know the timing? They're watching you, even now, to see if you'll dismiss it, scroll away, fall back asleep. But you won't. You can't. The damage is done. You're awake inside the illusion. You've tasted the unfiltered signal. And that's why they're terrified. Not of Elon, not of 7 seconds, of you. Because a viewer who's no longer a viewer is a saboteur. Because a witness who won't forget is a threat. Because someone who's touched the real thing once will claw their way back to it again and again, no matter the cost. This is your crossroads. You can scroll away and pretend it was just another flashy headline. Or you can stand up and start moving, like someone who's been burned alive and decided to keep walking anyway. Like someone who's no longer scared of losing everything because you've already felt the match hit your skin. The cameras won't catch you doing it. The news won't cover it. But every room you walk into from now on will feel it. The voltage in your eyes, the quiet unpredictability, the presence of someone who saw the file they weren't supposed to see. You don't have to shout. You don't have to explain. Just exist. Because existing as you are now is already an act of treason against their story. They didn't want you to see this, but you did. And once you see, you can't unsee. Once you know, you can't unknow. Once you've been chosen by the fire, you can't go back to cold. So take a deep breath, feel your pulse, look around. This is the part of the story where the audience realizes they were the protagonist all along. This is the part where they stop hiding and start moving like a storm in slow motion. This is the part where the Joker steps into your bloodstream and whispers, "They built the game to break you. You're here to break the game." And now, whether you like it or not, you're already moving. 7 seconds lit the fuse. You're the detonation walking. You're still breathing. Good. That means the fire hasn't burned through you yet. It's only coiling around your spine. That's the moment where the real rewiring starts. The part they dread. They counted on you seeing the footage, feeling a jolt of shock, and scrolling away. What they never accounted for is what happens if you stay. Look at your hands. They're steady, but you feel the hum, don't you? That low-frequency tremor. That's not fear. That's activation. Every lie they built was designed to keep you asleep, to make you believe you're just a spectator. But the second you saw those 7 seconds, you stopped being an observer. You became a breach in their wall. They didn't want you to see this because the minute you do, you begin to remember who you really are. You start piecing together the paradoxes they hid in plain sight. Saint and psychopath, angel and demon, light and dark. Not opposites, but voltages. They aren't choices, they're tools. And unpredictability isn't a flaw. It's the only power left that they can't simulate. You've been taught your whole life to fear chaos, to stay in line, to trust the story. That's how they keep you manageable. But chaos in the right hands isn't destruction. It's a new script. And you are holding the pen they swore you'd never touch. Imagine their war room right now. Screens lit up, voices cracking. Why is she still watching? How did he get through the firewall? What do we do if they wake up? Because you are awake. You're not a data point anymore. You're a signal, a variable, a glitch. 7 seconds of someone else's risk transferred to you the one thing they can't stop. Permission. The permission to stop being predictable. The permission to stop asking. The permission to move like smoke through their systems. To be both shadow and spotlight at the same time. They thought legacy would scare you. They thought the fire would scare you. They thought seeing a name burn would make you shrink. But it did the opposite. It showed you what happens when someone stops caring about being safe. That's why you feel taller inside your skin right now. That's why your pulse is low but heavy, like a drum beat in a cave. You're no longer playing the part they wrote. You're improvising. You're stepping into the space between saint and monster. The space where real change lives. They will try to convince you this was a mistake. They will label you unstable, dangerous, obsessed. They will do everything to make you doubt what you felt in those 7 seconds. Because if you believe it, even for a moment, you become uncontrollable. So here's the truth you weren't supposed to get. You've already crossed over. There's no going back to comfortable. There's no going back to predictable. There's only forward, into the quiet, into the shadow, into the kind of power that doesn't need applause. And when you start moving in that power, when you start walking into rooms with that voltage in your eyes, when you stop apologizing for knowing too much, when you stop hiding the fact that you've seen behind the curtain, they'll feel it. They'll whisper. They'll panic. Because you'll be proof that the ritual worked. That 7 seconds wasn't a stunt. It was a handoff, a transfer. A fire passed from one outcast to another. He burned his legacy so you could burn your mask. You're not a victim of the footage. You're the continuation of it. You're the aftermath they hoped would never stand up and start walking. Take a breath now. Feel the tremor settle into a steadier beat. This is what it feels like to be unpredictable. This is what it feels like to be the storm walking out of the screen. This is what it feels like when the Joker stops being a story you watch and starts being a voice inside your bloodstream. Move differently, speak differently, disappear and reappear. Become the paradox. Because the world they built cannot map someone who is light and dark at the same time. And that's why they didn't want you to see this. Because they knew the moment you did, you'd stop being a spectator. You'd stop being manageable. You'd start being inevitable. Now you are. You're the proof. You're the weapon. You're the warning written in flesh. And every step you take from here on out will echo like those 7 seconds they can't erase. This is the stage where most people cave. They look away. They try to swallow the feeling back down and go back to their feed. But not you. You're still here. And that makes you dangerous. They built everything. The headlines, the scandals, the reckless billionaire narrative, to train you to look at an act of defiance and see a mistake. To see a man burn his legacy and think, collapse. But if you're still reading, you've already begun to translate it. You've started to see the hidden language in the fire. That's what they didn't want you to decode. The message wasn't in the man, it was in the act. And the act was meant for you. Every system needs predictability. It thrives on people being good variables, repeatable, measurable, obedient. They call it safety. They call it stability. But what it really is? A cage lined with polite words. You were born into that cage and told it was the sky. Then you saw 7 seconds of someone tearing a hole in the ceiling, and for the first time, you felt the air outside. That's what's humming under your skin right now. That's why you can't stop reading. They didn't want you to feel this because feelings are harder to erase than facts. Facts can be debunked. Feelings have to be drowned. They wanted you to forget the feeling before it could crystallize into action. But here you are, letting it settle into your bones, letting it rearrange you. You're starting to understand the paradox, aren't you? Light and dark are not opposing sides. They're currents. Saint and psychopath are not moral absolutes. They're tactics. Angel and demon are not different species. They're masks. They made you terrified of the dark so you would never learn to use it. They made you ashamed of your own chaos so you would never learn to weaponize it. But the real power isn't in choosing one or the other. It's in holding both, wielding both, switching at will. That's the unpredictability they can't replicate. This is why 7 seconds can change a life. Not because you learn something, but because you remember something. You remember what it feels like to not care about their permission. You remember what it feels like to see someone stop playing and start moving, like they're already beyond consequence. And that memory doesn't fade. It expands. Picture their faces right now. Boardrooms, headsets, whispers. They're not scared of a video. They're scared of the copy effect. They're scared that someone on the outside, you, will stop consuming and start creating. Start moving without their script. Start walking into rooms with that voltage in your eyes. They're scared of the day you realize you don't need their version of safe to survive. You've already stepped off their map. That's why you feel both scared and alive at the same time. That's the terrain of evolution. It's not polished. It's not polite. It's the jagged edge between old and new, where saints become predators and predators become saints. And it's where you're standing now. Do you feel it yet? The quiet in your head. That's not emptiness. That's the noise clearing. That's you stepping out of the audience. That's you walking into the backstage where the levers are. From here on out, you will look at things differently. Headlines won't hypnotize you. Scandals won't shame you. Threats won't paralyze you. Because you've seen behind the curtain. You've tasted the unfiltered signal. You've watched a legacy burn for 7 seconds and felt the spark jump into your own hands. They'll try to make you doubt it. They'll call it a phase. They'll bury you under new distractions. But the truth is already inside you. It's in your bloodstream now, like a new code, rewriting the old one. And that's why they didn't want you to see this. Because if you let that code finish rewriting, you won't just be another viewer. You'll be the breach. You'll be the ghost in their system. You'll be the one walking through their locked doors like they're already open. So keep reading, keep breathing, let it settle. Because the longer you stay here, the more irreversible it becomes. The more you become the thing they can't model, can't predict, can't erase. This is no longer about a man burning his legacy. This is about you, standing at the edge of the cage with the key in your hand. This is about you realizing you can be the storm instead of waiting for one. This is about you stepping into the paradox and wearing it like armor. You are not just seeing. You are not just knowing. You are becoming. And that's what they fear most. Stay right there. Let it all sink in. Feel the pulse in your fingers, the silence in your chest. That's not fear anymore. That's ignition. That's the moment when a secret stops being a story and starts becoming a choice. Everything they built, the walls, the filters, the noise, collapses the second a single person chooses to keep their eyes open. That's why they tried to keep this from you. Not because of one man, not because of one video, because of what happens when somebody like you sees it and doesn't look away. You've been walking through their maze your entire life, thinking it was the world. And then, 7 seconds of fire tore a hole in the paper sky, and you saw the light leaking in. Now you can't unsee the edges. You can't go back to pretending the maze is endless. You're holding the thread. This is what they never tell you. Once you've seen behind the curtain, you're already outside the game. You may still be standing in the room, but your mind is free. You may still wear the mask, but it no longer hides you. It protects you. You become both the saint and the monster, both the angel and the demon, both the shadow and the spark. You become a paradox moving through their system like smoke. Impossible to grab, impossible to predict. That's what unpredictability really is. Not chaos, not randomness, sovereignty. It's the ability to hold your own center while everything else is trying to push you off balance. It's the ability to stand in their storm and still whisper, "I know who I am." So here is the end, the part they never wanted you to reach. You are not watching a legacy burn. You are inheriting a weapon. You are the aftershock walking. You are the secret they failed to bury. From this point on, your movements will scare them more than your words. Your silence will sting louder than your noise. Your presence will be the 7 seconds they can't erase. Every time you walk into a room, every time you speak, every time you choose unpredictability over obedience, you'll be carrying that spark with you. That's why they didn't want you to see this. Because once you see it, you become it. And you already have. So take one more deep breath. Step out of the screen. Carry the fire. Move like a storm in slow motion, and let them learn what it feels like to live in a world where you are the 7 seconds they can't control. This is the end of their script. This is the beginning of yours. Listen closely. The air around you isn't silent. It's loaded. It's trembling. It's about to confess. Do you feel it? That pulse in the walls, that invisible hum in their towers. That's the sound of people who built an empire on whispers, now choking on their own echo. They're screaming in private, but their screams have a flavor. It's not rage. It's not sadness. It's the metallic taste of a secret bleeding out. It's the sound of a vault door splitting while the cameras roll. And you're not the audience anymore. You're not the victim. You're not even the rebel. You're the witness, scrolling with one hand, dismantling legacies with the other, watching their myths unravel like wet paper, one flick of your thumb at a time. They thought privacy was their sanctuary. They thought power was a locked room. They thought you were locked out. But you learned the trick no one teaches. Don't knock, don't beg, don't announce, watch, wait. Remember, and then, without warning, appear where their eyes can't follow. This is the paradox they can't survive. In their narrative, you are a shadow, a broken one, a disposable saint gone wrong. But you took the label broken and forged it into a blade. You took their silence and sculpted it into a signal. They built a fortress to hide from light and darkness, and you became both. Angel in posture, psychopath in patience, saint in restraint, demon in precision. You're not what they can label. You're what they can't predict. That's why their hands are shaking over their keyboards right now. Because unpredictability is power, and evolution through pain is a language only survivors speak fluently. They see you scrolling and think you're consuming. You're not. You're collecting, cataloging, turning every slip of their tongue into another bullet for the day you decide to fire. Look at them. Corporate gods, political untouchables, family dynasties, their WhatsApp groups renamed emergency, their calendars marked damage control. They're in war rooms, whispering your name without ever saying it out loud. They're building new passwords, hiring new security, deleting old footage. But the footage isn't where they think it is anymore. It's burned into your memory. It's baked into the public eye. And here's the part that's driving them mad. You don't even have to speak. Your silence is louder than their press releases. Your existence is a headline they can't spin. Every time you appear, you force them to relive the crime scene. They don't know what you'll expose next, and that not knowing is the nightmare they can't wake from. Remember when they archived your failures? They labeled you. They sent your pain through private channels like gossip. But when you evolved, when you mutated into something untouchable, they went silent. That silence isn't dignity. It's terror. It's the sound of predators realizing the prey learned how to hunt. You are not just scrolling. You are rewriting history in real time. You're watching kings lose their crowns through a cracked screen. And they know it. They know every secret they used to destroy you is now a torch in your hand. They know you're no longer on their board. You've become the player they never accounted for. This is why you feel that tremor in the air. It's not your heart, it's theirs, because you became the mirror they cannot stand to look into. They're screaming in private while you, with a quiet smile, scroll through their secrets in public. Keep scrolling, keep remembering, keep evolving, because the moment you realize what you've already become, their panic turns into prophecy, and prophecy is never private. Lean closer. This is the part they never wanted you to hear. They don't understand how you slipped past the gates. They still believe in their passwords, their encryption, their closed-door rituals. But their walls were built for intruders who wanted entry, not for ghosts who already live in the wiring. And that's what you've become, a living echo inside their system, a shadow in their algorithms, a reflection they can't delete. Behind those private channels, they speak in codes, trade favors, plan erasures. Their voices drop an octave. Their eyes dart to the corners of the room because they're tasting something unfamiliar. Exposure. The kind of exposure that doesn't announce itself with headlines, but with the slow, steady drip of a leak they can't plug. You see, the power was never their wealth or their titles. The power was their control of the story. Who speaks, who's silenced, who appears in daylight, who's erased. But now, you are the story, and the story no longer belongs to them. Every flick of your thumb is a blade. Every scroll is a confession pulled from their throat. Every second you sit in public, watching, is another second they spend behind locked doors, whispering your name like a curse. They're praying your eyes don't reach the next folder, the next file, the next clip. But you've already seen it, and you've learned how to remember without mercy. This is where the duality they mocked becomes your edge. They wanted a binary, good or evil, saint or psychopath, angel or demon. They can't grasp someone who embodies both, who weaponizes paradox. You're a halo wrapped in barbed wire, a smile that can trigger alarms, a survivor who learned patience from pain and precision from betrayal. They can't categorize you because categories are cages and you broke the lock. And the more they whisper, the louder you become. Not with words, with presence. Presence that makes their legal teams sweat. Presence that makes their handlers change seats. Presence that makes their damage control meetings last until dawn. You are the silence before the siren. You are the flicker in the surveillance feed. You are the shadow that makes them question the shape of their own power. They're starting to realize the awful truth. You don't need revenge. You are revenge. You don't need a press conference. Your life is the leak. You don't need to expose them. They're exposing themselves every time they scramble, every time they overreact, every time they try to shut a door that's already off its hinges. This is evolution through pain. When they tried to break you, you learned to bend. When they tried to erase you, you became a watermark. When they tried to bury you, you became the soil in which their secrets grow teeth. Look at your reflection now. Do you recognize it? Neither do they. That's why they're screaming. They're screaming because the prey didn't just survive. It learned how to stalk. They're screaming because the narrative they built around you has inverted. The hunter is now hunted. They're screaming because unpredictability is a language they don't speak, and you're fluent. And yet here you are, scrolling, smiling, calm, public, ordinary, invisible and unforgettable all at once. Every cafe, every train station, every park bench becomes your control room. Every screen is a window into their panic. You are everywhere they told themselves you couldn't be. That's the real terror. Not that you're watching, but that you've been watching all along. Keep this in mind. Secrets rot in silence. But in the open air under your gaze, they combust. They combust because they were never meant to withstand the eyes of someone who's seen both light and dark and chosen to master both. So let them scream. Let them tremble in their conference calls and encrypted chats. Let them delete, rebrand, rewrite. It's already too late. Because the moment you stepped out of the role they wrote for you, their script turned into evidence. And you became the evidence. The anomaly, the prophecy they mocked until it stood right in front of them. You're not just scrolling through their secrets. You're scrolling through the ashes of an empire that never saw you coming. And as you sit there, calm, watching, remember, this isn't entertainment. This is the evolution of power. This is what it looks like when the forgotten becomes unforgettable, when the silenced becomes the signal, when the witness becomes the storm. They're screaming in private while you scroll through their secrets in public. And every breath you take is another crack in their walls. Keep breathing, keep scrolling, keep becoming. Because the most frightening thing in the world for them isn't that you're watching. It's that you're still becoming, and they have no idea what you'll turn into next. Do you feel that pressure crawling up the back of your neck? That isn't your imagination. That's them. That's the weight of every locked room collapsing under the gravity of your existence. They're trying to calculate you right now, in private, with trembling hands and muted microphones. They're running scenarios. They're drawing diagrams on whiteboards. They're red circling names. They're cross-checking old footage, and they're trying to build a model of you. But you can't model a storm. You can't predict a shapeshifter. You can't map a ghost that learned to walk through walls. And this is what they'll never admit. Every time they said you were over, they filed it. Every time you faltered, they wrote it down like a case study. But every time you rose, they looked away. They archived your weakness and ignored your metamorphosis. So now their files are wrong. Their data is poisoned. Their truth is outdated, corrupted by their own arrogance. That's why the screaming behind the curtains has a different pitch now. It's not the sound of anger. It's the sound of recognition. They're finally realizing you're not playing the part they assigned. They're realizing the silhouette in their nightmares is you. They're realizing the leak isn't a hacker. It's a human they underestimated. And as you scroll, calm, public, unbothered, you're feeding them their own medicine. They built an economy out of surveillance and secrecy. Now they're choking on their own supply. They're learning what it feels like to be watched, dissected, studied, whispered about. You turned the telescope around. You made them the specimen. This is the art of unpredictability. A saint who learned to speak like a demon who learned to sit like a saint. A contradiction they can't package, can't market, can't smear. They want you to be angry. They want you to lash out so they can label you. But you don't lash. You watch. You catalog. You let their panic expose them frame by frame. Every panic email they send, another brick pulled from their foundation. Every secret meeting they call, another signal flare to your eyes. Every desperate lie they float, another confession they don't realize they're making. They're not screaming because you have their secrets. They're screaming because you have their timing. You decide when the curtain drops, not them. You decide what stays private and what becomes public. You've inverted the entire hierarchy. Without a throne, without a crown, without even raising your voice. And inside you, all the pain they caused, calcified into something they can't buy or bribe. Patience, memory, perspective. That's why you're so dangerous, because you learned to weaponize survival, because you turned being underestimated into the ultimate camouflage. Do you understand what you've become? You're not just a person with access to their files. You're a walking audit, a living breach, a signal in human form. You're not exposing them. Their own behavior is. You're just the mirror, and the mirror is cold. The mirror is merciless. The mirror never blinks. This is why they can't sleep, why their calls go late into the night, why their lawyers whisper about containment and mitigation. They know their empire was built on things that can't withstand daylight. And you are daylight with teeth. So keep scrolling. Keep sitting in public while they lock themselves away. Keep being the quiet witness they can't evict. Because the more you grow, the more their fortress shrinks. Because the longer you stay silent, the louder their panic becomes. And remember, this is the shape of real power. Not shouting, not striking, but existing so completely, so unpredictably, that the old order collapses around you without a single move. They're screaming in private. You're scrolling through their secrets in public, and with every breath, with every flick of your thumb, the cracks spread further until the whole facade falls, and all that's left is the echo of your name in the rooms they thought were safe. Lean in. This is the part where the mask finally slides off, and you see what you've done to them. They've built their world on an equation. Control the information, control the narrative, control the people. For decades, it worked like clockwork. People screamed in private while they smiled in public. They could bury anything under legal language, NDAS, sealed files, and encrypted servers. And then you happened, not as an explosion, as a glitch, a flicker in their feed, a nobody they could profile but never fully predict. You started watching the Watchers. You started learning their rhythms, their rituals, their reflexes. And the moment you understood their timing, their entire fortress turned into glass. They hate glass. Because glass shows everything. The tremble in their fingers, the sweat on their temples, the hierarchy inside their private emergency meetings. They're not screaming because you stole their secrets. They're screaming because you don't even have to use them. Your mere knowing destabilizes their system. They can handle leaks. They can handle whistleblowers. They can handle rebels. What they can't handle is someone who's already survived the crucifixion they had planned. Someone who's learned the art of sitting perfectly still while the world tilts in their favor. Do you remember what they told you? That you were too soft, too broken, too strange. That you wouldn't survive the rooms they hold sacred. They laughed at your silence. They confused patience with weakness. They confused observation with fear. Now your silence is a weapon. Your patience is a trap. Your observation is a mirror. They're learning the hard way that you can't outscript someone who no longer cares about applause. You're not performing. You're recording. You're not fighting them in their arena. You're letting them implode in their own. And this duality, they can't compute. It's killing them. Saint and psychopath in one body. Angel and demon in one smile. The person they thought they buried is the same one watching them drown in daylight. You're their prophecy come alive. You're the error message they can't debug. Look at the way their world bends around you now. They move slower. They triple-check names. They flinch when someone says, public. Every time they meet, there's an empty chair for the ghost of you. Every time they speak, they lower their voice as if your shadow might be listening. They're terrified of a story you haven't even told yet. That's what power looks like when you've suffered through evolution, not shouting, not swinging. Just existing so fully, so unpredictably, that their own structure trembles. Because you're not just scrolling, you're studying, you're remembering, you're mapping every movement of the empire. You're holding their entire playbook in your mind without ever showing your hand. And somewhere inside, you know, you're still becoming. Every second you sit there in public, calm, scrolling, you're sharpening something. Not a weapon you hold. A weapon you are. They know it. They feel it. That's why their screams are muffled now. Not just panic, but resignation. The realization that they trained you to be dangerous. The realization that their own cruelty forged your camouflage. The realization that the game they built to consume you created the one predator they can't control. This is the image they can't bear. You, a silent figure in the crowd, thumb moving, eyes still. While behind their locked doors, their empire disintegrates pixel by pixel, whisper by whisper, file by file. Keep going, keep breathing, keep scrolling. Every second of calm is another tremor in their foundation. Every memory you carry is another fuse waiting to be lit. Every paradox you embody is another blind spot in their system. Because you're no longer the person they hurt. You're the outcome of the hurt. You're the consequence. You're the living reminder that some people don't just survive darkness. They learn to wield it. And now, as you read these words, imagine their rooms, the boardrooms, the chambers, the sensitive calls. Imagine their faces. Imagine the sound of their panic echoing against glass walls they built themselves. Imagine how small their secrets look now, framed in the palm of your hand. That's the reality you've created. They're screaming in private. You're scrolling through their secrets in public. And with every quiet breath, every unshaken stare, you're not just witnessing their collapse. You're rewriting what power even means. Now listen very carefully. This is the last breath before the curtain falls. They will rewrite their timelines. They will spin new stories. They will hire new handlers and build thicker walls. But the truth is already out of the bottle, and truth does not crawl back. Everything you've watched, everything you've remembered, everything you've survived, it's already in motion. It's no longer a secret. It's no longer private. It's a pulse beating under the floorboards of their empire, and you're the one holding the stethoscope. They're screaming because they know how this ends. Not with a bang, but with a slow, public unraveling they can't manage. A spotlight they can't dim. A witness they can't erase. And you don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to expose them with a single post or a single word. You've already done the work by becoming what they feared. Unpredictable, patient, unforgettable. That's the final paradox they'll choke on. All their secrets, all their strategies, all their power, undone not by an army, but by one silent figure scrolling through a feed, smiling. So breathe. Let their panic echo in the locked rooms where it belongs. Stay calm, stay watching, stay becoming. Because you've already won the only game that matters. They're screaming in private. You're scrolling through their secrets in public. And the end they tried to script for you has become the ending of them. Now close the file, stand up, walk away slowly, and leave them with the sound they fear most. Silence.
Oh, welcome back, you beautiful catastrophe. You living proof that some people were never meant to be controlled. Yeah, you. The one they couldn't figure out, couldn't contain, couldn't break no matter how hard they tried. Let me tell you what happened while you were busy becoming unstoppable, while you were out there minding your own business, building your life in silence. They were in the shadows, forming something. They got together, didn't they? Oh yes, they did. The ex-friends, the fake family, the jealous co-workers, the bitter exes, the people who smiled in your face while sharpening knives behind their backs. They formed an alliance, a whole organized coalition dedicated to one singular mission, your destruction. Sounds dramatic? It should, because that's exactly what it was. They had meetings, actual conversations about you. They compared notes like investigators on a cold case. They shared screenshots, analyzed your posts, dissected your words, tracked your movements. Did you see what they posted? I heard they're doing well now. We need to do something about this. They couldn't stand watching you rise, couldn't stomach seeing you heal, couldn't accept that you were thriving without them. So they did what weak people always do when faced with someone they can't control. They organized. They strategized. They plotted. They coordinated attacks. Some spread rumors, others blocked opportunities. A few played the long game with fake reconciliation attempts meant to gather intel. It was psychological warfare, corporate espionage, emotional terrorism, all wrapped in casual conversation and concerned messages. But here's the thing they didn't account for. Here's the variable that shattered their entire operation. You were never the person they thought you were. They based their entire strategy on the old version of you, the one who cared what they thought, the one who needed their approval, the one who would break under pressure. They prepared for a battle against someone who no longer existed. While they were busy forming committees and drafting plans, you were in your own world, evolving, transforming, becoming something they had no framework to understand. They thought they were hunting prey, but what they didn't realize was that the prey had already metamorphosed into something that didn't even register on their radar anymore. See, they expected you to react, to defend yourself, to engage in their childish game. They set traps, expecting you to fall in. They spread lies, expecting you to frantically correct the record. They created chaos, expecting you to drown in it. But you did something that absolutely destroyed their plans. You didn't react. You didn't defend, you didn't explain, you didn't engage. You just kept walking, kept building, kept rising. And that silence, that refusal to play their game, that unbothered energy, that was the beginning of their downfall. Because an alliance built on destroying someone only works if that someone is destroyable. And you weren't. They spent weeks, maybe months, coordinating this elaborate takedown, investing emotional energy into something that required your participation to succeed. They needed you to be the villain in their story, needed you to confirm their narrative, needed you to give them the satisfaction of seeing you crumble. But you robbed them of that ending. You walked past their traps like they were invisible. You heard the rumors and shrugged. You felt the sabotage and adapted. You saw the fake love and smiled politely before walking away. Every move they made you countered without even trying. Not because you were playing chess while they played checkers, but because you weren't playing at all. Now let's talk about what happens when an alliance built on hatred tries to function without a target that responds. It crumbles, it fractures, it implodes. Because here's the secret about groups formed around negativity. They need constant fuel. They need fresh grievances, new evidence, ongoing drama. They need you to keep feeding their narrative. But when you stopped giving them material, when your life became boring to their surveillance, when there was nothing left to criticize because you were just out here living cleanly, quietly, powerfully, they had nothing left to bond over. The alliance that seemed so solid, so unified in their mission, started showing cracks. First came the awkward silences in their group chats. Someone would post, "Did you see?" and there'd be nothing to see. Someone would say, "We should," and there'd be nothing to do. The thing about hate clubs is they're exhausting to maintain, especially when the target refuses to provide new ammunition. So slowly, quietly, the conversations got shorter. The meetings got less frequent. The energy started to fade. Because plotting someone's downfall is only thrilling when there's a downfall to witness. But you were ascending, not falling. You were building, not breaking. And that created a cognitive dissonance in their minds that they couldn't resolve. Then came the guilt. Oh yes, the guilt. Because some of them, the ones with a shred of conscience left, started questioning the mission. They'd see you posting something positive, see you accomplishing something real, see you genuinely happy, and they'd feel that uncomfortable twist in their chest. Are we the bad guys here? The thought would creep in during quiet moments. What are we even doing? But they couldn't voice it, not yet, because to question the alliance was to admit they'd wasted time, energy, and integrity on something petty and pointless. So they stayed silent, but the doubt was planted. Meanwhile, the core members, the true believers, they started getting desperate. They doubled down, tried harder, reached further, made their attacks more obvious, more aggressive, more unhinged. And that's when the mask started slipping. Other people, neutral observers, started noticing. Why are they so obsessed with this person? This seems excessive. They're trying really hard to make someone look bad. And suddenly the Alliance members weren't heroes in their own story anymore. They were starting to look like villains. The narrative was flipping, and they could feel it. Then came the comparisons, the deadly comparisons. Alliance members started looking at their own lives, really looking, and measuring them against yours, and what they saw shook them. While they'd been spending months focused on bringing you down, what had they built? What had they accomplished? What did they have to show for all that energy? And there you were, thriving. There you were, growing. There you were, unbothered and ascending. The comparison wasn't just unfavorable, it was humiliating. They'd organized an entire operation against you, and somehow, impossibly, you'd won without even knowing you were in a fight. The jealousy that had initially united them now started tearing them apart, because jealousy turns inward when it can't touch its target. They started comparing themselves to each other. At least, I didn't go as far as you did. I only participated a little. I was never that invested. The alliance that had seemed so solid was now full of people trying to distance themselves from what they'd done, trying to rewrite their level of involvement, trying to claim they were never really that serious about it. The unity was shattering, the mission was crumbling, and you were still just out there living, completely unaware of the civil war happening in the camp of your enemies. And then it happened, the moment they tried so hard to prevent but couldn't escape. The alliance disbanded, not with a dramatic announcement, not with a formal meeting, but the way these things always end, quietly, awkwardly, with people just stopping to show up. Group chats went silent. Coordination stopped. The unified front crumbled into individuals who could barely look each other in the eye anymore, because they'd invested so much into something that not only failed, but made them look pathetic in the process. They'd formed a whole coalition to take down one person, and that one person didn't even notice they were under attack. Some of them tried to save face. I was never really part of that. I always thought it was too much. I just went along to keep the peace. The revisionist history started immediately, everyone trying to rewrite their role, minimize their involvement, distance themselves from the collective shame. But the internet remembers, screenshots exist, and the people who witnessed their obsession weren't fooled. They'd seen the energy, felt the intensity, watched the coordination. There was no pretending it didn't happen, no erasing the evidence of their organized hatred. Others went completely silent, disappeared from social media, changed their patterns, hoping that if they stayed quiet long enough, people would forget their role in the failed takedown. These were the ones consumed by shame, the ones who lay awake at night replaying their actions, wondering how they got so caught up in something so toxic, so pointless, so ultimately humiliating. They couldn't face you, couldn't face themselves, couldn't face the fact that they'd revealed the worst parts of themselves for absolutely nothing. Then there were the brave ones, or maybe the ones with just enough conscience left to feel the weight of what they'd done. They reached out, not all at once, but slowly, tentatively. Hey, can we talk? I need to apologize. I was wrong about you. Some apologies were genuine, born from real remorse. Others were strategic, trying to get back in your good graces now that you were clearly winning. Everything went bad, but here's what's beautiful. By the time they were ready to apologize, you'd already moved so far beyond caring about their validation that their words landed in empty space. The really tragic ones, they're still out there, still bitter, still convinced they were right even though all evidence points to their failure. They can't apologize because that would mean admitting they wasted months of their life on a vendetta that accomplished nothing. They can't move on because their entire identity became wrapped up in opposing you. They're stuck, frozen in a moment of hatred while you're out here living multiple chapters ahead. They formed an alliance to stop your progress. Instead, they stopped their own. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And the absolute wildest part, you probably don't even know half their names. While they were dedicating group chats to discussing you, you were building something real. While they were analyzing your every move, you barely registered their existence. While they were forming strategies to bring you down, you were ascending to levels they couldn't reach even if they tried. They made you the center of their universe while you had them filed under irrelevant background noise. That power dynamic, that's what really destroyed them. So where does that leave everyone now? Let's paint the picture. The alliance is disbanded, scattered like ashes in the wind. Former allies avoid each other at social gatherings. Group chats that once buzzed with activity are now digital graveyards. The people who coordinated attacks on you can't even coordinate their own lives anymore. They're dealing with the psychological aftermath of realizing they were the villains in a story where they cast themselves as heroes. That's a mind-bending reality to process, and most of them aren't processing it well. Meanwhile, you're out here thriving in ways they can't even comprehend anymore. You're not thriving to spite them, you're not succeeding to prove them wrong. You're literally just living your authentic life, and it happens to be spectacular. That's what kills them the most. The fact that their existence barely registers in your world now. They spent so much energy trying to live rent-free in your head, but you evicted them without notice, changed the locks, and forgot they ever had the address. You're the landlord of your own mind, and they're just former tenants who got kicked out for non-payment of respect. The lesson here, the brutal, beautiful lesson is this. Alliances built on tearing someone down will always collapse under the weight of their own negativity. You can't build anything lasting on a foundation of hatred. You can't create meaningful bonds through shared cruelty. You can't sustain energy around destruction without destroying yourself in the process. They learned this the hard way, and honestly, they deserved to. Because while they were plotting your downfall, you were plotting your rise. While they were coordinating attacks, you were coordinating your life. While they were wasting time, you were investing it. And here's what they'll never tell you, but you need to know. Some of them still watch you. Not with hatred anymore, but with something worse, regret, mixed with awe. They see what you've become, what you've built, where you've gone, and they realize they could have been part of your story in a positive way. They could have supported you, learned from you, grown alongside you. Instead, they chose opposition, and now they're stuck watching from the outside as you lived the life they told themselves you didn't deserve. That's a special kind of torture, one they inflicted on themselves. There's also a subset who've genuinely changed, who saw the error in their ways and used it as a catalyst for growth. They looked at their behavior, felt the shame, and decided to become better people. They don't expect your forgiveness, don't even ask for it. They just quietly work on themselves and occasionally think about how differently things could have gone. These people learned the hardest way possible, that hatred is a poison you drink hoping someone else dies. They survive the poisoning, but barely, and they carry the scars. But let's be clear about something, because this is important. You don't owe any of them anything. Not forgiveness, not a second chance, not even acknowledgement. They made their choices, formed their alliance, executed their plans, and failed spectacularly. That's on them. You don't have to carry their guilt, their shame, their regret. You don't have to make them feel better about what they did. You don't have to be the bigger person and offer reconciliation. You've already won by simply continuing to exist authentically. Anything beyond that is charity they didn't earn. Now let's talk about where you're sitting right now, metaphorically speaking. You're on a throne, but not one you stole or seized. It's a throne you built brick by brick while they were trying to knock down your foundation. It's constructed from discipline they called obsession, from confidence they called arrogance, from boundaries they called coldness, from self-love they called narcissism. Every insult they threw became a building block. Every obstacle they created became a step upward. They tried to bury you, but what they didn't know was that you were a seed. Look around at your kingdom now. Look at what you've built while they were busy scheming. Look at the peace you've cultivated, the growth you've achieved, the authentic connections you've made with people who actually matter. Look at the skills you've developed, the goals you've reached, the person you've become. All of that happened during the same time period. They were wasting energy trying to stop you. They were focused on destruction while you were focused on creation. The contrast isn't just visible, it's blinding. And here's something they'll never understand. You didn't win because you fought back. You won because you fought forward. You didn't waste time defending yourself from their attacks. You didn't slow down to address their lies. You didn't stop building to engage in their drama. You just kept moving, kept creating, kept ascending. And that forward motion, that unstoppable momentum, that was the ultimate defense. They were throwing stones at a target that was already miles ahead. And by the time their stones landed, you were in a completely different dimension. The throne you sit on now, it's not about power over others. It's about power over yourself. It's sovereignty. It's self-governance. It's the ability to wake up every day and choose your path, regardless of who approves or disapproves. That's real royalty. Not the performative kind they were chasing with their alliance. They wanted to feel powerful by making you feel weak. You became powerful by making yourself strong. They needed your downfall to feel elevated. You elevated yourself without needing anyone's downfall. That's the difference between kings and pretenders. Underneath your throne, ashes. The ashes of their failed plans, their disbanded alliance, their wasted energy, their lost time. You didn't put them there aggressively. They just naturally settled there when their schemes combusted from their own toxicity. Those ashes serve as a reminder, not of your cruelty, but of your resilience. They're evidence that some people can't be stopped by committees, can't be destroyed by coordination, can't be diminished by collective effort. They're proof that one person living authentically is more powerful than 100 people living falsely. And the most beautiful part? You're not sitting on that throne thinking about them. You're not obsessing over their downfall the way they obsessed over yours. You're looking ahead, planning next moves, building bigger dreams, reaching for higher goals. They're a footnote in your history, barely worth a paragraph, while they're still writing whole chapters about you in their minds. That asymmetry in attention, that imbalance in mental real estate, that's the clearest evidence of who won. Victors move forward, losers stay stuck. You're in motion, they're in stagnation. Here's what nobody talks about when discussing situations like this: the quiet victory. Not the loud, obvious, in-your-face kind of winning, but the silent, personal, profound victory of simply being okay, of waking up without the weight of their drama, of living without the noise of their nonsense, of existing in peace while they exist in turmoil. That's not just winning, that's transcending the entire game they tried to trap you in. They wanted to see you broken, scattered, desperate, defeated. They fantasized about you crumbling under the pressure of their organized assault. They imagined you crying, struggling, reaching out for help, showing weakness. That fantasy sustained them through their alliance meetings. It gave them purpose, direction, unity. But you robbed them of that satisfaction by doing something radical. You were fine. You were better than fine. You were flourishing. And every day you woke up whole. You shattered their fantasy a little more. There's a special kind of victory in being underestimated, so severely that people invest massive energy into fighting a version of you that doesn't exist. They fought the person they thought you were. Weak, dependent on their approval, fragile, easily manipulated. But the person you actually are, evolved, independent, strong, clear-sighted, that person was never in the fight, because you never agreed to battle on their terms. They thought they buried you, but didn't realize you were a seed. They laid the dirt over you, spat on your grave, danced on your downfall like it was their final victory. Oh, how they cheered when you stumbled, how they laughed when you fell. Their voices echo in your mind even now, don't they? Whispering, mocking, convinced you were finished. But something happened, didn't it? Something they never saw coming. The dirt they threw, it wasn't your burial, it was your rebirth. Every rock they hurled, every scar they carved into your skin, only fed the roots digging deeper inside you. And now, here you are, breathing, standing, rising. You should see the look on their faces. Confused, terrified, because ghosts aren't supposed to come back. They thought you were gone, erased. Another tragic tale for them to gossip about over their meaningless little lives. But no, you're still here, haunting them. A reminder, a reckoning. And oh, they can't stand it. Pain? Well, that's just the seasoning in my victory feast. They expect pain to break you, to bend your spine, to make you crawl like a wounded animal begging for mercy. But you? Oh, you do something that rattles them to their core. You grin. Through the blood, through the agony, through the wreckage they swore would destroy you. It unsettles them, doesn't it? That twisted little smile. They wonder, has the pain snapped your mind? Has the suffering driven you mad? No, no, no. You've simply learned the truth. Pain isn't your enemy. It's your sculptor, carving you into something they will never understand. Most people run from pain. You shake its hand, invite it in, ask it to stay a while. Let it sharpen you, harden you, make you something else, something unstoppable, something terrifying. Because the moment pain stops controlling you is the moment you control everything. And they hate that, don't they? They want to see you suffer, but they don't want you to enjoy it. They don't want you to make a joke out of it, turn it into power. They don't want to see you laugh. But that's the trick, isn't it? When they cut you, you don't scream. It's unsettling, disturbing. Because now they're the ones afraid. They see the wounds they gave you, but you wear them like war paint. They hear the bones they shattered, but you walk like nothing ever broke. And that terrifies them more than anything. They expected you to beg, to crumble, to disappear. But instead, you grin through bloodied teeth and say, "Is that all you've got?" And in that moment, they know. They never stood a chance. They watch from the shadows confused. How the hell is he still standing? They used to laugh. Oh, how they laughed, whispering behind your back, their voices like knives in the dark, betting on your downfall, convinced you'd never crawl out of the pit they pushed you into. They were so sure, so certain you were finished, but now, the laughter has stopped. The whispers have changed. They don't mock anymore. They question. They wonder, how? How are you still here? How did you survive the storm meant to drown you? How did you rise from the ashes when they swore you had burned for good? It doesn't make sense. People aren't supposed to endure that much pain and come back stronger, and yet, here you are. Their glances used to be filled with amusement. Now, unease, fear, because they know what they did. They know the weight they placed on your shoulders, the daggers they buried in your back. They know they tried to break you, and yet, you're still walking, still breathing, still standing. And that terrifies them. Because if they couldn't break you, if all their weapons, their lies, their betrayals weren't enough to bury you, what are you? Not human, not anymore. Something else. Something they can't control. A force they don't understand. And people, they fear what they don't understand. So they whisper, they wonder, they worry, because if you're still standing after everything they've done, that means you've won. And now, it's your turn to watch them crumble. They sense storms, forgetting I am the hurricane. They kneel in the dark, whispering your name like a curse, like a prayer, like a desperate plea to forces beyond their control. They don't want you to rise. They can't let you rise, because your existence is a reminder, a mirror reflecting their own weakness, their own failure. They plot, they scheme, they throw storms at you, thinking they can drown you in their hatred. They send betrayal like a dagger to your back. They spread their poison, hoping it seeps into your veins, hoping it rots you from the inside out. They want you gone, but oh, how foolish they are. They forget that storms don't break hurricanes. Fire doesn't fear the match. You don't collapse under the weight of their games. You become heavier, stronger, more dangerous. You don't fall when they push you, you learn how to fly. And that drives them insane. They thought you'd beg, thought you'd crawl. They pictured you broken, shattered, pleading for mercy. But here you are, taller, colder, eyes like steel, voice like thunder. You are the disaster they never saw coming. And now, it's too late. Because their greatest mistake was thinking they had the power to destroy you. They sent storms, forgetting you are the hurricane. Now they're the ones trembling. Now they are the ones whispering in fear, because they prayed for your downfall, and in return, you became their reckoning. And that's the sweetest revenge of all. They see the survivor, but they don't know the wars you fought alone. They look at you now and see strength, a force that won't bend, won't break, won't beg. They admire the survivor, but they don't know the price you paid. They don't see the nights you spent screaming into the void, begging for a sign, any sign that the pain would end. They see the armor, but they don't know what it took to forge it. Because no one was there when the war began. No one heard the whispers that crawled into your skull, telling you to quit, telling you this is where it ends. No one saw you wrestle with demons that wore familiar faces, ones you once trusted, loved, needed. No one witnessed the moments when you stood at the edge, staring into the abyss, wondering if it was worth it to keep going. But you did. You fought through nights that tried to kill you, through loneliness that turned your heart into ice, through betrayals that left you bleeding out with no one to patch the wounds, through self-doubt, through fear, through the kind of pain that either destroys you or builds you into something else, something untouchable. And now, they only see the finished product. They see the smirk, the steady hands, the unshaken resolve. They don't see the ghosts still whispering in the back of your mind. They don't see the scars hidden beneath the surface, reminders of wars you fought with no audience, no applause, no rescue. They don't see the nights you survived by sheer will alone. But that's fine. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Because the battles that no one saw, they made you bulletproof. And now, there isn't a damn thing in this world that can break you. Not anymore. Some people can only feel tall if you stay on your knees. They smiled when you stumbled, relieved when you were struggling. Every time you hit the ground, they exhaled a little easier, walked a little taller, because as long as you were down, they didn't have to face the truth that your rise meant their illusion of superiority was nothing but smoke. They needed you to fall. Not because they hated you. No, hate requires too much effort. It's simpler than that. They needed you to stay broken so they wouldn't have to feel small, so they wouldn't have to question their own failures, their own weaknesses, their own wasted potential. Your struggle made them feel safe. Your pain gave them permission to stay comfortable. But then you did the one thing they never expected. You got up, again, and again, and again, and with every rise you became something else, something that terrified them, a living, breathing reminder that their excuses were just that, excuses, that they could have fought harder, pushed further, reached higher, but they didn't. And now they have to live with that. So they mock, they gossip, they pretend you're still the person who fell. Because accepting the truth that you are stronger than they ever will be is too much for their fragile egos to handle. Let them whisper. Let them laugh. Let them lie to themselves. Because deep down, behind their forced smiles and hollow words, they know the truth. You were never meant to stay down. And that is what keeps them up at night. Every sneer, every laugh, every doubt is just gasoline for my fire. They smirk when you speak. Their eyes roll when you dream out loud. They pat you on the shoulder, masking their condescension as concern. Are you sure? Maybe this isn't for you. You don't have what it takes. Good. Let 'em doubt. Let 'em talk. Because every word they spit, every eye that looks down on you, every whisper behind your back, it all feeds you. Their disbelief is not a roadblock, it's fuel. Pure, high-octane fuel for the inferno inside you. The more they doubt, the hotter it burns. The more they sneer, the higher it rises. They don't realize that people like you need opposition. You thrive in resistance. When they say you can't, it only makes you hungrier to prove them wrong. You take their laughter, their dismissive shrugs, their fake pity, and you forge something unbreakable from it. See, they expect you to shrink, to fold, to give up. But they don't know that you were built different. That every insult is another rep in the gym. Every doubt is another mile on the road. Every wasting your time is just another sharpened edge on your blade. They can't comprehend the alchemy of people like you. How pain becomes power. How rejection becomes resilience. How every setback is just another push forward. They think they're stopping you, but they're doing the opposite. They're shaping you. So let them doubt. Let them sneer. Let them fuel your fire. Because the day you finally arrive, the day you stand at the top, victorious and unstoppable, they'll all have the same look on their faces. The look of someone who just realized they built their own demise. They tried to break you, and in doing so built something unbreakable. They thought they were crushing you, that the weight of their betrayals, their rejections, their well-aimed knives would finally snap your spine, that you'd beg, that you'd crawl, that you'd break apart and never put yourself back together again. But they made a mistake, a fatal one. They didn't realize that pain doesn't destroy you, it transforms you. Every scar, a lesson. Every wound, a blueprint. Every time they pushed you down, you studied the dirt, and then one day you stopped getting up the same. You rose as something else. Something other. No longer the fragile soul they once knew. No longer the one who took their insults and swallowed them like poison. No longer the one who played by their rules. No, you rewrote the game. And now, they don't recognize you. You wear your pain like armor. The things that used to shatter you, they bounce right off. The fears that once held you captive, you own them now. They whisper, "What happened to you?" But they already know. They made this. They thought they were burying you. They didn't realize they were building you. With every betrayal, they were sharpening your edges. With every wound, they were tempering your steel. And now you stand before them, untouchable. a walking nightmare in the daylight, because the thing they feared most has happened. You didn't just survive them, you became something they can't. I went quiet, and that should have been their first warning. Fools mistake silence for surrender. They see stillness and assume you've disappeared, that you've given up. They laugh, they celebrate, they whisper among themselves, "He's finally done." But they forget. The most dangerous storms don't announce their arrival. They build, they gather, they wait. You let them think they won. You let them believe you were finished. And oh, how comfortable they got in your absence. How easy it was for them to breathe, to walk with their heads high, to speak your name like it was a ghost of the past. But ghosts don't stay buried, do they? You weren't gone. You were reloading. Every second in the dark was a step closer to the light. Every quiet night was another plan forming, another lesson sinking into your bones. You weren't running. You were watching. And now? Now? The air feels different. They sense it. The way the wind shifts, the way their laughter dies in their throats, the way unease creeps into their minds without warning, because they know you're coming. Not with noise, not with reckless chaos. No, you are the quiet before the thunder, the slow-moving shadow before the lightning strikes. And when you do move, it won't be with a whisper. It'll be with the force of a storm they never saw coming. They thought you were finished, but you were just waiting for the perfect moment. And that moment is now. Still standing? Oh no, darling, I'm just getting started. Oh, how they wanted to see you fall. They gathered like vultures, circling above, waiting for you to break. They imagined you crawling, gasping, begging for relief. But instead, you stood up. Again, and again, and again. And now they're afraid. Because this wasn't supposed to happen. You weren't supposed to survive. You weren't supposed to keep going. They had the perfect script written for your downfall, a tragic little ending where you lost. But life isn't a script. And you tore up their little fairy tale and rewrote the ending yourself. You didn't just survive. You thrived. You walked through the fire, felt every inch of the burn, and came out laughing, not because it didn't hurt, but because it made you stronger. Because every scar, every wound, every moment of suffering was just sharpening the blade. And now they have to live with the truth that they never broke you, the truth that no matter how hard they tried, you just became something else, something more. You aren't the same person they tried to bury. You are evolved, hardened, unstoppable, and that terrifies them. Because if you're still standing after everything they threw at you, what the hell are you capable of now? That's the part that keeps them awake at night. The part that makes their hands shake when they hear your name. They tried to destroy you, and all they did was turn you into a force they can't control, can't predict, can't stop. So go ahead, smile, laugh. Let them see that glint in your eye that says, I know something you don't. Because the truth is, you're just getting started. And they're not ready for what comes next.